All right, so you're really passionate about this idea of diverse school communities, and you've shared some fascinating research with me.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to take a deep dive into hiring practices in education. This is something,
Mm.
we don't always think about, but it's super important if we want schools that really work for everyone.
Absolutely.
And I know you might not be writing a dissertation, but even though this research seems like kind of the start of one,
Right.
I think there's so much here for anyone who really cares about the future of education.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
the big question, the core question we're tackling today is,
Okay.
how do we make sure that our schools are staffed with a really diverse group of incredible teachers?
That's the question.
Right? I mean, I guess we can all agree that hiring practices are like the
Totally.
foundation of building an effective and diverse
Yeah.
school community.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear you talk about why this is so important. Like, what's at stake here?
I think it's really what's at stake is the success of our students, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a powerful ripple effect when students see themselves reflected in the educators who are leading their classrooms.
Yeah.
It's not just about representation. It's about studies have shown that this can lead to, improvements in academic performance,
Wow.
greater engagement in the classroom, a stronger sense of belonging. I mean, can you imagine,
Yeah.
being a student and never having a teacher who looks like you,
Mm.
who shares a similar background, similar cultural understanding,
Right.
and then suddenly you see someone in front of you who's achieved success
Yeah.
in the field that you're passionate about. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And it's not even just about the individual students.
Right.
Like, it's about the benefit to everyone in the classroom when
Exactly.
you have a teacher who has
Yeah.
different experiences.
A diverse teaching staff brings such a wider range of experiences, teaching style. Yeah.
Cultural insights, and that just creates a richer, more exciting or vibrant learning environment. Everyone
Right.
helps students develop their critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
a deeper understanding of the world around them.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
Yeah.
Now, the research you sent over actually delves into how some of the current hiring practices might be
Interesting. Yeah.
unintentionally kind of holding us back from that diversity
Mhm.
that we're striving for.
Right.
And it mentions this idea of implicit bias.
Okay.
Now, for listeners who might not be familiar with that term,
Yeah.
could you explain what it is?
So implicit bias, it refers to these unconscious attitudes and stereotypes that we all hold that can influence our decisions, even when we have really, really good intentions.
Right.
It's sort of like a hidden filter that shapes our perception
I see.
without us even realizing it.
That makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
So in the hiring process, this might look like, let's say, the language used as a job description.
Certain phrases might unintentionally deter some candidates.
Interesting.
So, for instance, if you're using words like aggressive or dominant, this might discourage, women or individuals from certain cultures from applying, even if they possess those leadership qualities, right?
Right.
But choosing more inclusive language, like proactive or assertive, can really make a difference in attracting that diverse applicant pool.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
So subtle,
it is.
but really impactful.
Totally.
So knowing that implicit bias is there, it's like, what can we actively do to create a more equitable hiring process?
Right.
I mean, this research mentions things like
Yes.
focusing on recruitment efforts at historically Black colleges and universities.
Yes, HBCUs.
Yeah, HBCUs, and also Hispanic serving institutions.
Or HSIs.
HSIs, yeah.
Yeah, those are great.
Right, and these are institutions specifically dedicated to serving these student populations.
Absolutely.
It also mentions things like mentorship programs
Mhm.
and fostering an inclusive school culture.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on some of these approaches?
Well, I think the key is recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all solution here.
Right.
Each strategy has its merits and its challenges, and I think a multifaceted approach is really essential.
Okay.
I think targeted recruitment at HBCUs and HSIs is fantastic
Okay.
for widening the pool of candidates
Mm-hmm.
and tapping into a talent pool that is often overlooked.
Right.
But recruitment is only the first step.
Okay.
We have to make sure that once these educators are hired, that they feel supported and valued within the school community.
Does that make sense?
And that's where I think mentorship programs come in.
Yeah.
Having a more experienced mentor can really help new teachers, navigate the challenges of the profession, build their confidence, and develop that strong sense of belonging.
Right, and it seems like that welcoming and inclusive school culture that you mentioned
Yeah.
seems so vital to keeping our crucial teachers from diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like, what are the key elements to building that kind of environment?
Well, it really starts with leadership.
Okay.
School administrators need to be fully committed to diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
And that means, not just in words, but in actions as well. So
Right.
this means promoting diverse voices within the school,
Mm.
addressing any instances of bias or discrimination swiftly and seriously,
Yeah.
and really creating those opportunities for professional development
Okay.
that focus on cultural competency and inclusive teaching practices.
Now, some people might listen to this and say,
Yeah.
well, wait a minute. If you're focusing your recruitment efforts on these specific institutions,
Yeah.
isn't that kind of reverse discrimination?
It's a valid concern, and I
Yeah.
think it's important to address it head on.
Okay.
The goal of targeted recruitment at HBCUs and HSIs is not about excluding any group.
Right.
It's about actively leveling the playing field. For decades, these institutions have played such a critical role in educating students from underrepresented backgrounds who might not have had the same opportunities otherwise.
Yeah.
So, by focusing our recruitment efforts on these institutions, we're acknowledging that there have been these historical inequities in access to education, and we're taking steps to ensure a more diverse and representative teaching force that benefits all students.
So it's about correcting those
yeah.
imbalances.
Exactly. It's about equity.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And, it leads me to think about our
Yeah.
listener, what actions can they take in their community to support more equitable hiring practices?
That's a great question.
Right. I mean, it could be something like joining your local school board, advocating for policy changes, maybe even just talking to friends and family and raising awareness.
Those are great ideas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know we've covered a lot today, but I want to leave you, listener, with one final question to ponder.
Right.
Just imagine the long-term impact of investing in a diverse
Yeah.
and well-prepared educator workforce.
It would be incredible.
What could that do to shape the future of education and really create more equitable opportunities for all students?
It's really something to think about.
So, listener, keep exploring this topic.
Yeah.
Keep having these conversations.
Absolutely.
And remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect and create meaningful change in our schools and communities.
That's the truth.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was a great conversation.
I really enjoyed it.
Me too. All right.
Yeah.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you later.